Okay, ready? Begin with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everybody to the February 20 Marion County Commission meeting. We always begin with public forum, so if there's anyone from the public that would like to make comments.
The only thing, Mike may be, he's the mayor of Burns, and he may speak when we get into that.
Right. Be on the agenda item. Okay. Anyone online wish to make public comments? Oh, yes?
Yeah. I was here for the first time last week, and you guys signed things in your folders. And I was trying to find out from the minutes what was in the folders. When did we find that out?
Those are change orders. Those are basically like a property around the county that gets reassessed and reevaluated. Let the administrator.
So would that have anything to do with wind turbine?
No.
No.
Okay. And then also I wondered, just trying to learn more about you guys, found your code of ethics. Couldn't find like your purpose statement, but I figured this was kind of it. Should actively practice stewardship of the county's human, fiscal, and material resources. Which sounds a little weird, human resources. But I figured that meant looking out for the well-being, safety, and protection of the people in the county. So then that made me think of the letter to the editor that was in this week's Free Press. Did you guys see that? Oh, I brought extras. It's inside the front page, about the middle. It's titled, "What's at Stake?" I don't know if I have enough for everybody.
Oh, okay.
While we're getting to that, could you state your name for the people online? Okay.
Who are you with? You with the group?
My family. I have one for you. My family is also part of a group that's concerned about wind turbines in Marion County. Could someone read this for me?
We generally limit public comments to 3 minutes. And over 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay, so can I just read it quick then?
Yeah, that pretty much take up your 3
Okay.
minutes.
We're a rural community. We help each other, we care about each other. We're surrounded by rolling hills, open fields, long stretches of gravel road. Every year birds, big and small, migrate through our area in vast ribbons in the sky. We value our corner of Kansas for its wild and beautiful. I would really like if someone else could read this. My eyes aren't working at the moment. Could you take over for
Do
me?
you have comments about it?
Actually, I need it read.
We read it all in the paper last week.
But most people said they didn't read it.
All right, I'll read it real
Thank
quick.
you.
I'll read it real quick. What's at stake? We are a rural community. We help each other. We care about each other. We're surrounded by rolling hills, open fields, long stretches of gravel road. Every year, birds, big and small, migrate through our area in vast ribbons in the sky. We value our corner of Kansas for its wild and beautiful nature. This beauty is at stake as a major wind company is approaching landowners in southwest Marion County to put wind turbines on their land. Already it's possible that pre-existing wind farms in Marion County harmed migrating birds, created potential dead zones in local weather forecasts, storm tracking, contaminated the land from blades shedding microplastics. When a blade breaks off a turbine, it can shatter and render the surrounding fields useless for crops and livestock. But if not the main cause of blade failure is lightning strikes. We have enough lightning in Marion County for this to be a valid concern. Another hazard is ice throw, which is when ice forms in the blades and is flung off extremely fast by the rotating blades. Locking mechanisms are designed to stop the wind turbine when there's ice on the blades, reducing the possibility of ice throw, but the locking mechanism can be broken by strong gust of wind, which again is plentiful in Marion County. Wind farms also decrease the value of the homes near them. Our home values go down, while our utilities go up, as utility companies must update their power grid to be able to handle the increased load. Our current planning and zoning regulations say wind turbines can be as close to residences as the height of the turbine, plus 50 feet. For non-participating residences, the wind turbines can be within 1,500 feet. This is too close. Broken blade pieces have been documented to travel 4,200 feet. We care about the safety of our community. We care about the safety of our neighbors. We care about the safety of our family, your neighbors, Quentin and Chris Gurr, Ezekiel and Mariah.
So we have about over 20 resources from doctors, professors, everyday folks like you and me telling their testimony.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments? If not, we'll move into agenda approval. I would like to add an executive session on the EMS director position. Is that agreeable with the commission?
What was it for?
For EMS director position.
Okay.
Executive.
Yes, exactly.
Brad after Brad.
We'll see, probably after Brad.
Okay.
Anything else to add to the agenda? If not, the agenda stands approved. And we move into administrative items. Tina?
Okay. I think Ashley has given you some minutes on the table.
Okay.
So-
Commission, you had a
minutes of
chance
the 12th, 15th, and 16th.
to review the minutes from the 12th, 15th, and 16th.
I'm gonna break them up. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve 12th and 15th.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Garing for the 12th and the 15th. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dalkey. Discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. Then we have the minutes from February 16th.
I attended, but I did not vote, based on working with two,
Okay.
and not because of potential bidding, it was because I was working for two.
Okay.
So I just wanted to take a chance to clarify that. So I'll make a motion for February 16th.
Okay, Commissioner Garing made a motion to approve February 16th minutes. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Becker. Discussion or changes? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5. Thank you. Okay.
All right, in your packet, you did have an early check, and the total is $383.88.
Okay, questions on the early check?
Is that a monthly charge?
I need to see what it is.
It's the rent and security.
That's security monitoring.
It's either monthly or yearly. I would have to look that up for you.
That's monthly, pretty expensive.
I think it's yearly. I'm pretty sure it is.
You might look it up and tell us sometime.
Okay, I will.
Any other questions on the bill?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Commissioner Garing to approve the bill. Is there a second?
Second it.
Second, Commissioner Crowfoot. Other questions or discussion? We'll get an answer on that for the next meeting. Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
It is annual.
It is annual.
Oh, there we go. Got an answer. Annual. Annual.
Okay.
If I could probably have the freezers for the drugs and stuff, make sure they're constant temperature.
Oh, okay.
So this morning, we were made aware of an error on the previous, there was, portion of the payroll was missed, some on-call hours for volunteer EMS north. And that was an error on the part of the EMS office. They didn't get those included, and so I have an early payroll to pay those wages to that individual.
The amount is $286.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
sorry. The total,
The total payroll,
$1,290.
including the county's tax payments and everything.
Gotcha, that's
The
right.
wages were 1,001,
$292.99.
so that you need the total amount.
Questions on the concern? Not, is there a motion to approve the payroll in the amount of $1,292.99?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gehring, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Crowfoot. Other questions or discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried. Okay, next.
We do have change orders affecting the 2023 and prior year tax rolls.
Okay.
You just want to put it in your stack. We're gonna feel kind of like in the middle of the room, but.
Called trust. So many different people sign the same thing for everybody.
I thought it was a read. I know.
Just as bad as an oil lease.
While those are going around, I have the title for the trailer that got burned up. We need to sign it over for insurance, and so I just need the commissioner's, chairman's signature.
Any action?
No. You already voted to approve the settlement offer. This is just an administrative function.
I didn't have a lot. I said a few.
All right, the green folder is completed, if I don't drop it.
We do have a progress invoice for the 1240 commercial project, and the dollar amount is $67,469.28 for approval.
Death. I'm glad it's not in the packet because my computer just took a nosedive.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that one.
No, that's
I
fine.
didn't get in there.
It worked out perfectly.
Okay.
Good timing.
Some of these things I got after the packets went out, so.
Okay, Commissioners had a chance to review the invoice. Are there any questions?
This one's coming out of the Building Road and Bridge Fund?
Yes.
Okay. How many different accounts are we taking out for that one? Do we know? To pay the total bill? Is there, or everything coming out of it?
I believe we were putting everything out of there.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the 1240 commercial progress invoice in the amount of $67,469.28?
Application number 4, so moved.
Application number 4, motion by Commissioner Gehring. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
We have transport fuel bids.
Nothing up to you. Okay, we have 2 bids for transport fuel. Fleet Fuels LLC in the amount of $22,708.30. And MFA Oil in the amount of $22,876.77.
Make a motion to approve the low bid of Fleet Fuels.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Becker to approve low bid Fleet Fuels, $22,708.30. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dalkey. Discussion or questions?
Glad we got more than one bid.
Yes.
Did we ever determine that they were local? Fleet Fuel?
They have a station in Hillsborough.
Their station. I thought not. I thought it was just a transport company.
Whose station is theirs?
I don't know that. Last time I checked, it was just a transport company.
Would you like confirmation from the administrator? Are you okay to approve the bid this week and get confirmation for the next round? Or do you want to hold on this one?
Yeah, well, going forward, I'll make that, I'll make my comment after we have a vote.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? I don't remember. We did? Okay. We'll call a question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Good with it. I'm sorry.
So that's an aye?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 5 in favor, none opposed. You got a comment?
Yeah, going forward, since this is a normal business transaction, could we leave this up to the administrator?
Yeah, so I guess the question is, that I have to you, is how much of this does the commission still want to be having to take care of on a regular basis? So,
I'm good with it.
I am. I mean, especially if you've got a couple bids that are bearable, it's just a necessary business move every time.
Save 20 sheets of paper.
Yeah.
so we would still do the bids, but they could be approved administratively and not have to come to the board every time. We can report on what was done, but that's up to all of you.
Also
Administrative
allow,
report.
yeah, and allow the administrator to research contracts too. It might be $1 savers. Just trying to open the door a little bit to use the administrator to the full potential.
I would agree with
I'm
that.
okay with it.
Would you like to make that motion?
I would make a motion to allow the administrator going forward to select the transport and area fuel bids
And approve them.
and approve them for necessary business.
So, it's all right until we have to make some drastic moves and we don't know what the fuel prices are, what's going on, are we just gonna sit here and, without realizing what the fuel prices are and things, and.
No, I think that would fall into the administrator's, report.
Okay,
basically.
okay, I mean,
That you're still informed, it's just, we don't have to go through this procedural item.
that's what I'm trying to get at. But we better be informed, or we're not gonna make good decisions.
I'm pretty sure we should always be informed. It's just, sometimes it's, and like early checks too. Like, some of those things need to just go through, and we can approve them on a normal payday. Approve them as
No
normal.
problem with that, just so everybody gets informed.
Just so it's not, streamline the business a little more.
I guess the caveat of the motion would be that the board still remains informed of what the bids,
Yeah.
or what the winning bid is.
I mean, if gas goes to 4-something a gallon.
Right.
Yeah, I wanna know it.
Was there a second to Commissioner Gehring's motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Commissioner Crowfoot. Other discussion? All those, we're talking just about the fuel bids at this point. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. Moving forward, the administrator will take care of the bids and then report to the board.
The next thing that I have is we received a proposal, or basically an amended agreement for the architectural services for the new Main Street Health Department building project for 1220 East Main. So this would amend the existing agreement to have the architect perform construction oversight. And so the proposed amount for that is $17,500, which is less than 25% of the overall design fee. And when they initially said that, what their fee would be, they thought it might be 25%. So this is actually just over 22%. So anyway, we'd need a motion and a vote to approve them performing those additional oversight services, and the change to the contract in the increase of $17,500.
I would make that motion to accept the contract for the oversight.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Crowfoot,
I would second that.
second by Commissioner Gehring. Discussion.
What does that include, additional oversight that we
So-
didn't award with the construction manager?
So they're the ones to keep the construction manager on track and accountable.
We're coming out to make sure we follow.
They're gonna have on site to make sure that the plans are being followed appropriately.
How many chiefs are we gonna have on this project? Not very many Indians, they're all chiefs.
Here is the scope of work. It's highlighted in yellow if you want to read it.
Well, we've heard from the commissioners about mistakes made in the past where there wasn't oversight. So I think in this case, we're gonna make sure that there are not those, we don't repeat those issues.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to said that's the best money you could spend.
Well, in addition to, you're opening the door to somebody that doesn't have the most construction management in their portfolio. So you need to give them the best chance of success.
Okay. Other discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0 on the approval of the construction oversight services agreement with Alloy. Change the contract $17,500.
Okay, and then I'll have you sign there on the mirror line. That might be all. Yeah, that's all.
All right.
Administrative.
Very good. With that, we're ready to move into the Burns Broadband Grant. James?
Yes.
If you come up to the seat, hopefully people that are online so they can see and hear.
Yes,
We want to
absolutely.
make sure they can see your shining face. And,
Yeah.
and hear what you have
Shine
to
a little
say.
bit in my head.
Those of us that have a little reflective.
Yes, yes. Well, I appreciate, first off, thank you all for letting us be out here. You know, I visit with Randy, and I know we have some residents here from Burns, Kansas, who really want to, you know, come to you all. Not only thank you for this application, but also for our ask that we're going to ask you for. Do you happen to have one of these by chance? Okay, I'm glad you do. I've updated just a little bit on this one here. It kind of tells a little bit of the outline of the project costs. It's a $1.6 million project. And the community of Burns has already put in $10,000 of it. So before I hop right into it, I want to just give you a little history of who we are at Idea Tech. We're a small town rural internet company out of Buhler, Kansas. We do all fiber optic and we work throughout the state. So we're local. We do everything within Kansas. We're in 90 different communities. We've put about $100 million of private dollars into the state of Kansas. We've won about $27 million worth of grant funds over the last 4 years. We've put up of our own money with that, about $7.5 million with that, to show that, hey, just because the state has this money doesn't mean that we're not going to put money into it too, because our mission at Idea Tech is to invest in underserved areas, because where Buhler is, you can say, you know, we get left out a little bit, and so it kind of pulls at our strings a little bit when we have communities that come to us and say, hey, we want fiber. And so this project that you see in front of it, this is a 2.0 project. The only difference is we've added Burns to this, and this is where we come to you all. In late 2022, we looked at a project for the CPF grant. Unfortunately, it was over 700% subscribed when we put this in, because Kansas ranks number 33 out of all the states through the United States of broadband. So we lack broadband within a lot of rural areas. And in some of these areas where these colos, AT&T, CenturyLink, where they're not going to invest fiber optic internet, that's why these grants exist, because it makes hard business sense for a private company to invest in rural areas when you have homes here, here. There's a lot of big costs with that. And so we've got a lot of different support ready from the Burns that we had. We also have great support from Whitewater, Elbean, for the Berean Academy. We've got state support for this, local support as well. I know their council, Travis Bailey, has been working tremendously in getting letters of support from residents. I went to a council meeting a couple weeks ago, and I got to hear the whole concern that says, how do we get fiber here right now? Because there was another provider that's somewhat outside, and they say, hey, well, if you want it, you're going to have to put in $250,000. The city of Burns says, hey, there's no way we can put that in. And so we're coming to the table and say, hey, we can do something here. It's going to cost us about $500,000 to run fiber from Harvey County to where we're at to get strictly to Burns. And so for that city, when you look at that and you break that out, it's about $4,000 a premise, regardless of, if they subscribe or not subscribe. And so what happens when we have at the state, what really puts this application more favorable is when you get the county commissioners to go on board and say, hey, we have some of this money, we'll put this up assuming you win the grant. We're going to be going to Butler County as well next Tuesday to ask them for a larger grant ask, because you can see here, and I'll pass that around so you can see, there's about 491 homes in Butler County that we'll be covering, 125 homes within Marion County, and there's a couple homes in Harvey County that we'll just get. Yeah, just kind of shows a little bit of that detail. And so our ask here for the council to consider is a $12,500 mask atch. And you might ask me, well, how did you come up with that number? When you take the $500,000, what it's going to cost us to build out to Burns, and you divide that out by the 125 homes, that is a $4,000 cost per premise. Idea Tech, we don't need you to put any money towards us, because we're going to put the $2,000, because that's our investment to community that shows that, hey, we want to invest within Burns, Kansas. The other $2,000 would come off of what the state would have to pay. So say you all agreed to that $12,500, equivalents to basically $100 per resident home. They would then have access to fiber internet because you have helped them, assuming we win that grant. And so at the end of the day, that money will get taken off of what the state owes. So if, say, we get $100,000 total for this project, and we asked for, 1.6, and the state says, okay, well, you put 800,000, we'll be at 800,000, but you've got $100,000 of matching support, which is a requirement for this application. Now we only have to give 700,000. That makes that look a lot more attractive, and the state can then do more things with that money. And so that's our ask today. Every home in Burns, Kansas will get a symmetrical connection, at minimum 100 by 100, up to 2,500 by 2,500 if they show subscribe. The also difference is, with Burns, they allow us to use our community building, what we can use up to 8 times to do education type things. We're one of the only few providers in the state that actually do the ACP program. I know it might have a new acronym here in the next few months, but what makes us different is we actually just put that at $0. So families that qualify for free or reduced lunches, we actually say, hey, did you know that you qualify for this? We don't actually do TV service because we don't have cable, but we do have people that do streaming services. They say, hey, I got to have my Jeopardy. I got to be able to watch things. I don't know about this YouTube TV, Hulu stuff. Can you explain it? And we have a service. Ken Adrian, he's a retired pastor at Bueller, he's in his 70s, and he is the most techie guy that I've ever met. So he comes into these meetings and he says, okay, this is what you can do. It's a no extra service that we do. We just do it because we want people to learn technology. He does house calls. He's had dinner with people before. He will go out there and he'll talk to people on the phone. That's what he wants to do, and that's what we allow him to do. So when we talk about the infrastructure of what it means to Burns, I know that I'll let them talk about it, but the growth of having that, attracting new businesses, residents, the difference in this whole program is Burns approached Idea Tech because they know we've had success with these grants. And so when you ask, well, why did we add Burns? Well, because we had their council reach out to us and say, hey, we need it as a community, and that's why we're today. So I have a couple guests here. Mike. Yes, Mike.
Yeah, my name's Mike Hammond, and I'm the mayor of Burns. And we've been reaching out to a number of companies trying to get some type of high-speed internet in Burns. And I'd say 10 years ago, we were using dial-up, Kit USA. And then we've had a couple tower people come in, and there's also satellite services. Excuse me. But we have a new council member. He just moved into town. He's a civil engineer. He works out of his home, and he absolutely needs high-speed internet to work out of his home. And we have at least two other people that run businesses out of their home, and they need a high-speed internet connection to run their business. So we reached out to them. They came to our meeting. They asked us for a $10,000
Matching funds. Yeah.
Matching funds, yeah, and they said we could pay it over a 5-year period, and we don't have to pay anything until their first connection is online. So it was just basically too good an offer to pass up for us. And he's also asking for letters of support from local politicians. We have Roger Marshall's office, we have Jake LaTurner's office, we have our state senator's office sending letters of support. So we just, this is something we really need. We consider this as the lifeblood of business now. It's no different than roads or rural electrification. It's just something that needs to be done, and every little bit of help we can get, we're willing to take it.
Oh, thank you, Mike. And Travis called me, the council member that started reaching out to you guys to start with, and then reached out to me, and then that was who I brought the letter in from. And he called me yesterday and said that he couldn't get away from work today to be here. He would have been here. But we understand that, being a council member and holding a job down, sometimes you can't be everywhere. So and I listened to this speech and everything, and the city of Burns people talked there the other night, and $10,000 to Burns' budget is quite a bit. And so, and I thought, well, we have never done nothing for communication. We all say we want it. We all know that, and some people are blessed with it out in the country. And I've used your name already at the Burns Council meeting Dave, because of what you've said about what you have up there. And so, I think, well, what can this county commission do and to help? I think bottom line is figure out some amount of money that we could do this with. But if Lehigh, another town in our county, comes in, that we could support too the same way. And so that is my feelings that, for discussion. If somebody has some amount, I'm open for any amount that we think we can afford for this. I don't think we can pass it up. That they've got everything in order for us just to put a pledge. It's not, we don't put the money out yet. And see, if they get the grant, then we would be asked to donate whatever we come up with. So, am I over-speaking anything yet?
No, you absolutely, like I said, any matching funds that you all put up today will only make this application more favorable to the state. And as Randy said, if we do not win this grant, nothing is owed at the time. We can set up to things, something very similar to Over Burns as well. But then once we actually get into the interview with the state of Kansas, when this application comes up, we'd love to have some representation here to help about that.
My next thought, since I've been to that meeting and thinking of, is whatever amount that we could come up with and pledge, I would put that amount, give the city council of Burns, either they could take it off of their money that they're requested, or they could add it to their request. Now, that would be something that this council needs to decide whether they'd like to do that or throw that out and just make a pledge on top, or however they would like to pledge something. So that's the two things that I've been toying around, just to give them, if they can't come up with it, but then maybe our money could help them pay their share. If not, they add our share on top of their 10,000 and adds to that. So I would throw it out for discussion for our council here, commission.
At this point right now, as long as we give you the pledge, they got the pledge, they could always come to us later and try to get some relief. And that's the area you're going to.
Yes, yes.
But for me, it's a personal thing for me. If you don't have fiber, it's just like you were back in the 1800s, the railroad didn't come through, your town died. You didn't get the highway, your town died. Fiber is essential to our way of life now, and without it, you don't have commerce, you don't have everything you need to survive, and it's absolutely necessary. And so with that, I will make the motion to go ahead and match and do the pledge match of 12.5, and then we'll take up with Burns if they need it down the line.
It'll be on top of Burns. So they'll show it to.
Yeah, we all owe the 10, and
So
then,
that it opens these guys up to go ahead and fill out their application, try to get the grant. And if they get awarded the grant, we can talk about additional support.
So are you gonna make that closed end or open end? We've got a lot of other communities in this county. What if 5 more come next week?
I totally believe in the fiber, and we should figure out how to pay
Well,
for it.
I don't disagree with you there, but I think to me, it's gonna have to be open-ended. Anybody in the county. I mean, Burns needs it, that's great.
Any established city, I would sort of draw it at that line myself, Ken.
How'd you come up
Oh,
with
you mean it,
12.5?
yeah.
Established city.
That project we've determined from, to be able to build when we come from Elbing over, that's about a little over $500,000, and there's 125 homes. So if you divide that 500 by 125, you get 4,000. And then we said if the council could put up maybe 5% of that on the state end, which is $100.
I mean, another town come to us, we could use.
Yeah.
that portion
Yes.
of the-
Yes.
Figure
Yes.
how much.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, somebody could come ask
Yeah.
for 50,000.
Yes.
Well, why?
Yeah, and very true. And I appreciate you, Commissioner Gary, and I will second your motion if there's some other discussion, if anybody has any, before, just to answer Kent's question. And so, I mean,
Okay,
that's-
we have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Garing, a second by Commissioner Dahlke.
Where would we fund it from then?
My question.
Oh.
I agree with your question. Where would the commission like to bring those funds from? Would you consider it an economic development?
Administrator, can you help me out?
From the wind farm?
I'm not gonna be able to tell you today where to fund that from. I would like some time to look.
Right.
See where it could be funded from. I mean, if you pass your motion, that's fine. I think it should be specific to this request. And then you could look at developing a policy as you move forward of how you handle these things.
Okay.
What is your deadline?
For the grant, we have to submit it all by March 11th, and then we will find out if we're awarded in September of this year. So there's time to
Right.
figure that out.
I would think we can go ahead with the motion to approve the request. It's just we're gonna research the source of those funds. Would that be agreeable?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we gotta find somewhere to make it happen.
Rather than making a knee-jerk decision and then
Right.
decide we've got another application or 4 more applications down the road.
Right.
So we have a plan in place how to fund, if we fund them.
And it gives us a discussion during budget time.
Okay.
Create a line item for technological improvement.
If you get it turned in by March, the date you just said,
Uh-huh.
when is outlet coming out, the approval?
September. Is when we-
September.
So once March 11th happens, we'll start going into interviews, probably April or May, with everybody, and then it takes a couple months for them to be with their consulting group that come in and review all the applications, and they'll let us know in September when we win the grant, and then we have to fulfill all of this in order for us to be paid, so.
With that being
So
said, then
how soon would the pledge need to come your way?
We wouldn't need anything, like if we won it in September, you could come up with a thing that says, hey, we can pay you 12 months, payment here, but we wouldn't need anything before October, because once we win September, it's gonna take us some time to get our people out here, and then I would come back and I would definitely talk to the commission and say, hey, we won this, and then, and then try to.
That allows us to get through budget at its line item.
I'm just wondering, what is your deadline then, if it's accepted, when will it be finished in Burns and?
Yes,
payment?
so technically we have to fill it within 2 years, but when we do this, we want to have it done within the 6 months. So we will hopefully have this done before May of 2025. So our goal is to start project right away and make sure that everything, obviously because we have a duty to make sure we fulfill, and then the state does their audit, and then they make sure that we've done it, and then we'll be paid out for that.
I don't know, but I think I heard the other night that it is an entire town project, correct?
Correct. It is we found that it's the entire town, so every water meter within the town that we make sure. And when we do come in to do our project, we'll make sure we meet with the mayor, we meet with the public works to make sure we identify sewer lines, things of like that. Everybody will be at the table. But last thing is, we've done in Pretty Prairie when COVID happened, there was a grant that came out called CARES, and we won some of that. Well, the problem is it ran right through Pretty Prairie. Half the town got it, the other half didn't. And I tell you what, we don't want them phone calls anymore, because they say, how come they get it and we don't? So rest assured, everybody in the city of Burns will have fiber optic internet.
And you
So-
did say that if there was somebody within reasonable, you would address it and
Yes.
see whether it's possible to
Yes.
do it around the town.
Yes, because once you have fiber there, it's a lot easier to make a business case. And so if we see houses that run along here and we say, hey, it's gonna be,
Scroll.
yeah, it's like, okay, this is a $10,000 build out, but we can make it work type thing.
I'm done.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
And can you just state that motion one more time, since there was a lot of.
That,
We would do a $12,500 match with Idea Tech for the
Pledge.
pledge for the fiber build out to Burns.
Thank you, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you all very much, and I look forward to keeping you guys updated on all this.
I would
Because I'm nosy.
Yeah.
Are you planning on building a backbone all the way into Burns and then backtracking back out to the local area?
I'd have to figure, that's where it comes to some of the engineers. I do know that everything we do is our own fiber. We do not lease off of like a AT&T or, guys, we build it all.
I'm just wondering if you're gonna hub it and then go back.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll make sure I get somebody to give you an answer. I'll have them email you an answer on that.
It's fine,
So-
I'm just interested, that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. But you know, the thing is with the businesses in that area, they can get up to 10 gig symmetric, what we can offer. That's
10 gigs.
10 gig. But that is for like your enterprise. The residential, we can offer it to 2.5.
Still,
So yeah, so 10, up to 10 gigs in that. And fiber will be in the ground for the next 50 to 100 years. The only thing you have to change is the technology at the cabinet, so.
the head into.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be in there for good.
Well, thank you for the presentation, and thank you, Ms. Burns, for coming, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
We know how important that is to the community.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Mueller, I'd like to thank the commission for taking a step here that shows that if another town comes and that we're looking to fiber, we want to, I think it shows something forward-looking for our county, period. So,
Well, it's not just important for the community, it's important for the county.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Critical.
Well, the more hubs we have, the quicker we'll get to full coverage. So there's a lot of people out there in the county, and they're 2 miles off, and they're just like, man, it just really bites. But without getting that hub, we ain't never getting that farmstead.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Would you like me to take that chair back out here?
Oh, it's fine.
Okay.
Never know how many more might show.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
About me, I'm 2 miles off.
But without having that 2 miles away, it'd be impossible to go 30. You gotta build it up, it's like, rural electric. They went out, and then they built out, and then they built out.
Broadband and cellular service. Nikki, welcome.
Hello.
All right. Where do we start?
I guess we're just talking about neighborhood revitalization. I was told we were talking about Larry's.
Let's
Okay.
Let's handle that one first.
let's start.
Careful what you say.
So the information that you have is basically, what Nikki and then the treasurer's office provided as far as, the properties and the history of what has been done with the Smiths building, different projects and the ones that were on NR. So you have basically all of the information that shows the valuation before each project, the valuation of each project, the taxes that they paid and the rebates that they have gotten so far.
Copy or not?
Yeah, can I have your copy? Okay. So this is just based on the information that was in the records. So there are 2 parcels, and then there have been a couple, there were 2 projects on the first parcel, which is in the green at the top. And then there was, on the second parcel, there was 1 project which was already approved and in neighborhood revitalization. And then you might remember that there's a 4th project, which is the second project on the blue parcel on this, that there was no application submitted for neighborhood revitalization. And so I think the request is to be included after the fact, after the building is complete.
Yeah, when it's over.
The issue with it is that the commission took action not to accept late applications anymore because it was a common theme that buildings would be built and then somebody would find out about neighborhood revitalization and then come and get special permission to be included in the program after the fact. And one of the requirements of the program is that they have to apply for it before they start. And so that is kind of a just quick catch up on why the issue is here.
They have to apply for it before they start.
They have to apply for it.
Does that tie our hands already?
They assaulted the mayor and
It's already started?
It's either before construction starts or within, is it 30 or 60 days of the building permit. I don't know off.
These are our policies, state statutes, what?
It is in our application.
Right.
It is.
Now, in the past, the commission wanted to be.
She's stating ours, the counties.
Right,
County
that's
is-
right.
yes.
We're in a city, and that's
But this is the county program.
He's applying.
correct, but getting the cities to match, and that's why I question this so much, is where it went. You know, that's the question, is if they get it to us and stuff like that. But this is a little different deal. I mean, it's,
Well, actually, I'm gonna follow up on your question of matching. We have Matt Stiles online. So, Matt, if you'd be able to help us with a question, were you able to hear the first part of the discussion?
Yes, sir. I think I did hear that.
There we go, you're with us. Yes, thank you.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yes,
great.
gotcha. We can see and hear you. Great.
Perfect. Yeah, you know, what we normally do, we try to remind everybody that they have to be, it is a county program, it's not a city-based program. And we've actually talked about changing that and moving into potentially a city participating in the neighborhood revitalization plan. But I know you guys have some discussion about what you're going to do with that in the future.
Right.
So we want, you know, we remind everybody about that. You know, when we do the application, we're aware that it has to go in, you know, with the building. We basically tell people it has to come in with the building permit. In this case, I don't know that I can't say for sure that we did with Mr. Smith's building. You know, that's our normal practice, but you know, it's not written on the form anywhere. It's just usually between the building inspector and the person doing the building. So, yeah, in this case, you know, we try to make that work. You know, with Commissioner Dalkey's comment, we do try to match it up. We try to do it with the building permit. It just makes more sense given the requirements. So that's how we've proceeded. And you know, if we need to change that, we're more than happy to do that. I would assume that Hillsborough maybe has the most of those applications that come in the county from any one municipality, given that we're the biggest. But yeah, we're happy to change that to make that match whatever it needs to be.
Matt just sat here, and that's where it's not your city in particular, but other towns that we've had over time, period of years, has happened the same way, where it's not on the permit. That's why we had to get it on our permit, is so that we wanted our county people to be right there. And then there was no come back to this later stuff and do that. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to hand the application, because you guys have a separate application for the NRP. You know, to hand them the application with the building permit, that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
When did the county get the building permit? I mean, when did we actually get it from the city?
Different cities do different things. You've heard
Right.
Matt say before. Sometimes turns it
on this
in
specific
quarterly,
one.
and
We
yeah.
typically request them unless we get a neighborhood revitalization application, and we don't have the building permit, then we call the city and request that specific building permit. Other than that, we just request them towards fall, is when we ask for the building permits before end of the year before we.
On this
close our
building permit, we haven't received it yet.
We have the building permit.
We don't have a neighborhood
We don't have a
revitalization.
neighborhood revitalization application.
When did we, because the rule said when we received the building permit, it was within 30 days?
Not when we
90 days?
receive it, it's when they take the building permit out.
Okay.
I would have to go downstairs and get the building permit. I don't know.
So the permit date was listed as July 14th, but that wouldn't have, that's what you gave me.
Sorry.
But I don't know if that's when we received it, actually.
I don't know.
So,
The bottom line.
Our practice
Go ahead,
is
Matt.
typically sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Our practice is to typically do those quarterly. We end up with about, you know, anywhere from 80 to 100 building permits a year. Just depends on what's going on. So we try to break those up so that it's not overwhelming when you get them all in, you know, September or in the fall. So with the July one, I imagine we probably sent that in sometime in September.
Well past our dates. But when did he bring it to our attention? It's been a couple months now.
I think it was, if I remember right, sometime after tax bills went out, maybe.
In December was your
December.
first call to Jonah, and then to me in December?
Remember, this kind of blurred a little bit, yeah, right.
I'm just trying
In
to,
the beginning, yeah.
the days.
I had the phone call from another property owner, and then it was shortly after that Larry called our office.
So you would have
So
contacted you first and then he
and
contacted
then
you.
I tell them if it's post-construction, my hands are kind of tied, and tell them to call their commissioner.
And that's the rules we have voted on and laid down. And that's fine. We've got a good plan, but if somebody's shortchanged somewhere, that's what, it's always been a problem, is shortchange there. And I'll just state it, and I questioned Mr. Smith when he called me, and he told me that he had already had 2 or 3, but they just flat forgot this one. So, right? I'm not stating anything wrong. I'm just telling you the way it is, and so that's what we're here for, I guess.
So how
Can't
much
we-
dollars and cents are we talking about?
So, I mean, that's the information that you have. You can see how the taxes increased over
Estimate
time
rebate.
with each project, and then how many, how much they've received in rebates. So, so just on the first parcel, because on the second parcel, it's a pretty new project, besides not even counting the newest one. But like, in that middle section of green, so the taxes, if we look at without the project, what the taxes would have been, even if they increased by 20% over the same time frame, the taxes on just that lot would have brought in about $1,031 over the 4 years, I think is how I figured it. And then the actual taxes with the project, and it's estimated because we don't have the current. We have an estimated amount. So it was almost 11,000 in taxes. And so the difference between just the tax amount that the county would be billing is almost $10,000 just on the one parcel without the project versus with the project. The actual amount of rebates, this is also estimated because it includes an estimate for this year, but they haven't received a rebate yet this year, is tax relief and the amount of all of that they have received tax relief on this one parcel in the amount of about $10,110 over 4 years so I was trying to give you that kind of information of
$2,500.
what the project did to improve the property value, the tax level. Now, the second parcel, we only have 1 year because of the, it's been in the program 1 year. And so that one would be, they receive, the estimated amount of their first rebate is $2,500. And, if I look at just 1 year of taxes with an increase versus how much the actual tax bill is with the first project, there's an increase of taxes about $1,600. So obviously that would be increased with a new project. And I think you're aware of where the rub is, it's because if you have to consider if you allow this application to come in late because this taxpayer missed the application and your previous action says we're not gonna let the people come in late anymore because it was a problem. Then you have other taxpayers that have also built, and that's there are 4 that we know of already. I'm sure that if there would be plenty more that would potentially call in. That's on the second sheet.
That's-
Those are
Or
ones.
that I know of this year. I probably have 2 to 4 or 5 every year, and once they get their tax bill, they're calling.
So, it could be a bigger issue that we don't even know the impact of if you go back on a previous
Make a
action.
statement to Larry and his wife here that we've got 4 more sitting here on the list of, some of them's completed and then all of a sudden in 23 and all of a sudden now they're calling in 24. We have one that's 90% complete. We've got it marked new dwelling in 2024. And then the other one is out of 23 or is that to be finished this year, new dwelling?
That one is complete for 20, so it'll go on the tax roll for the first time for 2024 at 100% complete. The first one at 90% is actually out at East Shore. So it would have been a county building permit also, so they would have known.
Okay, well, that's, I see it, I don't see none of that on here to even look at that, so, but appreciate it, because so we know that, so.
Can I comment on one thing?
Yeah.
I guess something that we feel like is a little bit unique, which we've already touched on about our project, is it's existing. We've already got, buildings on the ground. This is part of a completion of that, and so, whereas others might be a brand new deal, we've already been there, and we are there, and continue to be there, so maybe that's unique.
Yeah.
We got a new garage and we got a remodel list here,
Yeah, for,
so that's kind of adding to the existing.
So basically, it's just, as you know, what the run is on all this. I mean, if you decide to allow and go back on your previous action, you've got to look at the consequences of that, or you need to, if you decide to do something special with this, there has to be something that sets it apart from others to where you're not going to have just a big chaotic backlog of people calling and coming into the program late.
well, it come down to me, just a simple, well, if you go back, and these people are gonna feel the same way, but when they first made contact, it was not complete yet. Their project was not complete. So that's, this one's 90%, looking up here right at the top, 90% complete for 2024. I don't know if that's there, you said that was out of East Shore.
That one is, yeah.
And there's, like you said, a different deal. It was on our program, on our building permit, correct?
I believe Sharon sends a letter with the approved application when they get their building permit.
It's all included.
It's included when they get their final permit. The other three are in the city limits. 2 are in Marion, 1's in Hillsborough.
And these are this one is a business. The others are residential.
Is the percent for business different than residential?
The assessment rate is different.
The assessment rate is, but the neighborhood revitalization part,
No.
it's all the same? Okay.
And I don't know if this makes a difference. The new dwelling with the garage actually has a higher assessed value than their commercial project. I don't know that makes a difference if we're looking at assessed value or taxes. I don't know.
But you
So,
can,
do you understand what she's saying?
Yeah, it has a higher assessed value, but it's taxed.
at a less lower percent.
No, it would be, the tax is based on the assessed value. So the estimated assessed value of this project by itself for them is, even after, is 24,500.
Right.
And so that is what the levy will go against to generate the taxes. And the,
Commercial rate.
no, the assessment rate is different between commercial or residential. So you have to look at the market value. So the estimated market value of 98,000 is assessed at 30% for commercial. That's where that 24.5 comes from for this application. On the others, the market value of that new dwelling and garage is 272,000. It's assessed at 11.5%. So the assessed value, that's
So the
where the
percentage is in front instead of behind.
It's in front, right. So the assessed value is where we apply the levy to generate the tax bill.
I get you.
So this dwelling, depending on what their levy is, based on what districts they pay into, their potential taxes could be higher than what they would be paying on the commercial property for the increase, so.
But I want everybody, and I appreciate this, because this is what you go through all year long.
Yes.
We're seeing,
Nearly.
seeing this kind of stuff, so, that's why it's here.
I mean, if I make a mistake in my business, I have to, if I get to do something or charge something, I have to eat it. And I mean, and we have to have rules so it doesn't get ran over.
One, go ahead.
It's sorry, I mean, I feel sorry that you're gonna lose some money, but I put that up to my education fund.
That was, saying the other day on the phone, if you make a mistake on your federal income tax, you have a window to put in a new one, a pinned one. They allow that, and it works. And so I guess I feel like I'm in the same situation, unfortunately, but.
I mean, and it's clear, I know that the county commission wants to do what they can to support
Mhm.
people who are starting businesses and, you know, and building new homes.
Right.
So,
I guess what I'm hearing is it comes down to our policy. Are we going to make an exception to the policy or hold the policy? Are there enough unique circumstances to warrant?
We need to do a better job of promoting this, maybe. Let people know that it's available.
I might get shot here, but I want to scrap this whole thing and go look for something better for recruiting businesses.
Scrap it just
Businesses
for
only?
businesses or for everything?
Anything. There's got to be a better program than this to bring people in.
I would say before we go to that discussion, we need to resolve this, because it's already in the past, under the existing program. What we do in the future isn't gonna resolve what was done in the past.
But this,
I agree, there needs to be a
the
discussion
reason
on.
why we made the policy is because this kind of stuff just kept
Yes,
happening.
exactly.
Happening. And it's caused nothing but grief. And it's gotta be something better that is more of an incentive to come here rather than, hey, you know, if you do something, you can get a kickback. It's,
And
Cost us money downstairs too.
And that may be very true, you know, I'm more than willing to accept something that, because I've heard from the young person that's just started at 20-some years old and built a house, and I told you about that, that they was ecstatic when their rebates come in. To pay their tax, yet they was ecstatic to get a rebate back too, so, and to build a new home. And so, I would be more than willing to do something like that, but let's have a good program that we can.
I've also heard some people that basically if they left it alone, their assessed value would have been less, but since that they went with the program, they wound up getting every nickel and dime in there, so then their assessed value got raised.
It can be a catch-22.
I think the question is this project unique enough in itself to make an exception?
Correct.
Just keep everything else out of it?
Yep, that's my question.
That's the question.
And I agree completely, and that's the question the commission needs to decide today. Are we gonna stand on our current policies, or are you going to make an exception because of unique circumstances?
As much as I want to vote in favor, I'll have to go back to my opening questions to them and everything. We've had two, why was the third one not taken care of? But then their comment back was just what he just said. I have you can, tax return, you can fill that, but yet we've ruled that if it was not in that year, you know, it creates a whole lot of back work for us, so.
I mean, it's in my backyard. I really want there to be an exception for them, right? The problem is the tax code has it written in. Our policy doesn't.
All right, to bring resolution, I'm gonna ask for a motion to grant a special exemption, and if there's not a motion, that means we uphold the current policy.
My district comes up to the south edge of Hillsborough. You two have split Hillsborough. I would like to hear what you two say.
Well, you know, that was what I brought up was the uniqueness of it. I guess my next question is, looking down the road, does it stop further expansion because of it? That'd be my question to you.
A lot of money, yeah. I mean, we do feel like we service several towns. You know, people in there from every town, so.
Okay,
I don't know if you want my opinion or not, but I will say, and this may go back to what Jonah said, and I know that doesn't overall have anything to do with currently, but I will say we don't get a neighborhood revitalization application on every commercial project in the county or every house or every ag building, so there is construction going on without people utilizing the program. I will say that overall.
Okay, I'm gonna make last call for motion. If there's not, we'll stand on policy.
I'm just really trying to find a loophole in my mind.
I tried, Jonah. I tried finding a loophole other than just going back and researching what had happened and like that.
What was the day?
I know we're gonna rub people wrong if we do make the special exemption. I guess my big concern is, it's a unique project. And I don't wanna limit that project going forward by not granting.
I can add to that. That's what this whole program was about, to help. That's what it was about, to help bring it here so people would come here and things like that and build here and then give them something like that
But I
too.
also agree with Jonah that we need something different because we, as a county, we have a county revitalization program, but we rely on these different entities to take care of the paperwork for us, basically, and make sure that that gets done. You know, when you're relying on the cities to kind of administer the county program, in essence.
But no, I will tell you, Tina, I don't know whether she got in on it or not. For this revitalization program, there is a lot of meetings and a lot of things has to happen. Every taxing district has to either accept or not accept. And so when you go to vary this, if you do it by taxing district, it is a job. I mean, it took time for us to get it done for this county, so.
We don't even know what other vehicles are out there that might serve the county better. You know, that's gonna take some time too, to figure that out.
What was the day that you said in the beginning, that allowance of days?
Off the top of my head, I think it's 60 days from the time they get their building permit. That we are
Check
supposed
the actual
to have
policy.
From the time they get it, or we?
from the time it's approved.
Okay.
The building permit date. And that's about the only loophole we have since you guys have cut it off at post-construction. The only way we could kind of get it in there is if it's within that timeframe.
Okay, an applicant for rebate this is our policy that we've had since 2011, and that's before you voted to stop making exceptions. Okay, all right. An applicant for a rebate must be application for rebate must be filed within 60 days of the issuance of a building permit. Applications for rehabilitations or additions must be received and approved prior to the commencement of this construction, no exceptions. Underlined and in all caps. That's what is on our paperwork, our application.
Okay. All right, last call. If there's no motion, we stand on policy.
Pandora's box.
Not hearing any, I take consensus of the board to stick with the existing policy. I'm sorry we couldn't grant relief, but after discussion and reviewing the situation, we did not find enough unique circumstances to grant.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Appreciate your patience and your willingness to work with us through this process.
And I was born in Hillsborough,
Homegrown.
little known.
Did you have anything else for
I guess just while I'm here, evaluation notices will go out on March 1st.
On time.
Yay, good job.
So I was actually at home. I took the day off and I went to go watch, and I was like, oh, like I'm on the agenda. So at 12:40, I ran upstairs and changed. I was like, so yeah, that yeah, you're welcome.
Just because I want to expand the conversation, what would be our process if we were to get rid of the neighborhood revitalization? Are we able to go find something first, or do we have to get rid of this first?
I think you can find something, you don't have to get rid of it at first.
I want something else to look at first.
Yeah, I think that's a good
Well, I
question.
just, if we had to get rid of it first before we could go look for something, now we're kind of in a bind, like, what?
Okay, but remember, these are already signed and
Oh, yeah, no, I would totally.
Anything's grandfathered in.
Yeah, anything that's in the program would stay in the program.
But moving forward, do you draw a line in
Yeah.
the sand? Or do you come up with the alternative
No, I would-
before you?
And we would need to see when it was implemented, if it was done by a resolution or just a vote.
The process.
And then whatever process was used to implement it would be the same process that you would use to discontinue, if that was the wish.
I would like to know what that looks like.
Yeah, I think a work session for, maybe a 2-hour work session at some point.
Yeah.
Let's start the process of gathering information. If you have ideas for an alternative.
Yeah, I don't, but there's gotta be something better.
I think we would need to bring in some outside help on that. From Kansas Department of
I would-
something.
I'd like to let an administrator bring some recommendations.
Zoning department or something.
I just want to say that I think that is going to take not just a couple of weeks. I mean, this is something that's going to take a good chunk of time to figure out, so.
And it's a major decision not
A
to.
2-year project.
I mean, I'm happy to research it, but it's not going to be.
No, I'm not expecting it to happen.
Okay.
I just know that as long as this stays on the books, these issues are gonna keep coming.
Well, people follow the rules.
Well, yeah.
Dave's exactly right.
You're exactly right, but I'm also exactly right.
I know. Human nature, but it's just,
I will say, I think originally the neighborhood revitalization programs were meant to like draw people
Yeah.
from other parts of Kansas or the world. I
kind
don't
of like
know.
Randy's building a new house.
Yeah.
Or to get rid of old
Yeah, to fix things
taxable
up.
structures and put up something better so you could get
And
taxed.
a lot of counties have neighborhood revitalization, so I don't know their plans, I don't know how attractive theirs are versus ours, or, but,
That's
whatever.
exactly how it got here. Some of the commissioners before I got in
Yeah.
here, I'd already started on it and was putting it together, and then it took us quite a while to get all the taxing entities to have a meeting and either yay or nay.
And again, that's not something to be done hastily.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work been done to put in place. If we can tweak it, if we can change it, or if we want to go to another platform, that's something that we need to do.
And I will say, if you tweak it or change it, you need a whole new plan, which means a whole new process.
I will back that off.
So, I mean, it's doable, but you'll have to start over.
To a certain code then,
No,
just the building code, I mean.
yeah, whatever their city, a residential property has to spend at least 5,000, commercial and agriculture has to be at least 15,000.
I built a
In-
garage in the deck, not
Right.
spent 40,000, but
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do
Because I
these
wanted
things.
Yeah, but that falls in it then. It
Yeah.
was over a limit.
I could have qualified for it.
Yeah,
Don't ask to do it now, though.
Actually,
putting a new roof on your house probably isn't gonna qualify, new side, if it's like in an average condition home and you're just doing maintenance, it's a lot of money to replace the roof or the siding, but it's probably not going to increase your valuation.
That's something too. What's value done to building projects from the time we put that in 19 years ago to today? I mean, it don't take much to get $5,000 in something.
No,
or $15,000.
and I will say, since I started to now, the amount of applications that we get, I think we still get around the same number of building permits, but the number of applications that we get for neighborhood revitalization is slowing, and we get more agricultural than I think we do anything else.
Do you have a sign down the office say, did you apply for? Went up and
I do not.
I don't think she's
So we send it out with our property tax bills, we send it out,
on
so it's on our website, it's,
at the bottom of it, looked all
And so I get a lot of the
We need to-
post-construction calls
We
from.
need to probably not include it in the,
In the tax
Tax
section.
bill.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it comes, that's why she's talking about it, yeah.
You missed it. All right, well, thank you for helping us through this specific case today. And we appreciate all the work you've done and getting on time.
Yeah,
A big accomplishment there, and we're very proud of that.
yeah. Now on the personal property, so,
On to the next one.
yes.
wish we could find a loophole.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
I'm gonna shut that blind a little bit, 'cause it's really hard on the camera, it's hard to see the speaker there. So. Plus, it's letting a lot of warm air in here. Do you want this opened? Anyone
I just
here?
needed it here.
Are you
It's
comfortable?
up to you over
Yeah,
there.
you can open it. I can do it.
So nice to have windows that open, by the way, just saying.
Claudio,
Good
Yeah.
job.
you're ready.
Could you see them eyes looking at the back of your head?
Welcome, Claudio. Take the seat by Commissioner Dockey. We've been trying to put you off as long as we can.
Oh, I
You don't have to
know,
do
that's
this.
what I figured. Like, oh, they don't wanna see me this year.
Last year,
I heard he had 21% decrease for us.
Well, I'm sorry to say that that's not the case.
check your sources.
He was gonna donate out of his own salary to make it.
Oh, it would take a lot more than that. So, well, I hope you're all doing well.
I just now got a fever.
Yeah, I know.
Now got a fever.
Did you give him a heads up already on that?
I might have said something. Thank you.
We didn't want anyone to, we didn't want to have EMS on standby.
Well, we do have EMS on
We
staff.
do have it.
Oh, yeah, we might need them, hopefully not. So, well, yeah, so as you probably had that heads up, we don't have very good news, Its news is a little worse than prior few years. If you open your folders, I try to simplify it more than prior years and not bring the whole book. And we are going to look first in all the sheets that are on the right side, on the right pocket, okay? So, and this is something that I had mentioned it in the past, but I don't think I've brought this in years past. This is, and we have a lot of information, and I just grabbed two specific reports out of our utilization report. So a utilization report is what tells us what the utilization of the plan has been, so where claims have been for the past year. So the type of plan that you have, as we call full insured, and we've had the discussions in the past of full insured, self-insured, and it is rated based on the 12 months preceding the renewal, okay? So you have a plan year that goes May 1st through April 30th every year. Our raters work your renewal in the month of January, so they make the cut of claims in December 31st. So they're gonna look at the 12 months, January through December of 2023 of claims to see what your rating will be for the coming year. So this is what this report is. This report has claims for the past 3 years for those 12-month period of January through December. So that first page, if you look at it, and I can just we can look at health, so this is split between health and drugs or pharmacy and then the total. The line, the fourth line down that says plan paid, this is what we have paid in claims for the entire group of the county, okay? So if you look at current, that would be the January 1st through December 31st of 23, the period we're looking at to rate for this coming plan year. Those claims are twice as much as they were the prior year, okay? So we have doubled the claims on health. If you look at pharmacy, they went down a little bit. So overall, added pharmacy and health, we went from the prior year $886,000 to $1.4 million in claims. So claims are claims. Claims are what people are utilizing. There's really nothing other than finding ways to decrease cost in the healthcare and all of that, and we're trying to do that with different programs, specialty and prescription drugs and this and that. There's no way to get around what the claims are, okay? The next couple of pages just give us a snapshot of where those claims are as far as how many people or what's driving those claims. And really you can see, and we call this a stratification, if you look at the last two columns there, or even the last one, it says with claims over $100,000, $100,001 or greater, we have 4 people, which is 2% of the enrollment, that add up to half of the claims, $715,000, 50% of the claims. So claims doubled. We have 4 people that account for half of the total claims. Now, the good thing in quote unquote, because we don't know who those people are. We're not going to know what the issues are or anything, right? But 3 of those 4 people are no longer on the plan, okay? So whatever it is that costs them to, have high utilization are no longer on the health plan. So they will not be occurring those claims again this year for those people if they had some ongoing things or whatever, okay? So when our raters look at rating, they just look at numbers. So they do not do a qualitative analysis of those claims. So yeah, we know that those people are no longer on the plan, but numbers are the numbers. So they do not take that out of the equation when they're looking at what the rates are going to be for next year. They do make an allowance for what we call large claims. So there is an allowance for where we carve out large claims, which are going to be specifically, I think it was over $175,000 or $150,000 of claims taken out. Anybody that had any claims higher than that, we took him out of the equation, okay? And that is being considered. So even with that large claim consideration, we are looking at an increase in premiums of 18% with this very same plan, with no change, making no changes. So I kind of wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction to kind of like ease my way into the 18% increase. So this is why, so when we got double the claims from the prior year, there's like really no way.
35% of them are gone this year.
I'm sorry?
35% of those people are gone.
Right.
But that won't be reflected until next year.
That is correct, assuming, your claims go back down and we don't have 4 other people, with high claims, anything can happen.
It's never gone down.
Huh?
It's never gone down.
Yeah, it went down 1 year.
It hasn't gone up much some years.
Yeah, so I pulled up here your guys' history, and we had, so last year I think it was like 3%. Yeah, last year was 3.5% increase. The year before was 5.9. 2021 was 0.4. And then the year before that was 21%. So, it can fluctuate. It just will fluctuate depending on how those claims do the prior 12 months. That's all it is. So, any questions on the claims part?
Looking.
Tina, do you know offhand what we?
Usually we budget for like 25 or 30%, but I'll double check that formula and see. Sometimes when we get to a certain number, we just stop at that number and say that's what we're budgeting. So I'll look at that real quick while he's talking.
Okay. So the next sheet basically has the premiums there. So I moved on from the claims. If you don't have any, does anybody have any questions on that? claims part of it. So the next sheet there is just an illustration of the premiums. And of course, you know, if you look at, we're talking all premiums added up to $1.3 million in premiums, you know, for the coming years, from 1.1 to 1.3. So that's an almost 18.5%. Okay, so this is total premiums. It's not what the county's paying. It's just all added up, the employees and the employer's portion of it. Okay. So
It's like we budgeted at a 25% increase.
okay. Okay. I'm gonna skip the next pages. Well, the next one is just your dental. Dental is obviously a minuscule part of premiums if you compare it to health. Dental is that next page there, and where premiums are pretty much the same, 0.7% of an increase on the dental plan. So the next set of pages that are stapled is really our rating page, and there's a lot of numbers, but really this summarizes the increase is here. This is just an explanation on numbers of it, and I can go as detailed as you would want me into it, but I figure probably you wouldn't want to go in details on that. But a couple of things maybe to point out is just again the claims. You know, and that if I'm looking at this first page on the first set of the stapled sheets there, if you look at that line 6, claims expense, you know, projected to end the year at $1.7 million. This is the benefit period, okay? That's why it differs a little from the report that I was talking to you about at the beginning. So we're projecting ending the year at the plan year at $1.7 million. That line 7, projected loss ratio. The loss ratio is the rate between claims that we pay and premiums that come in. Okay? So that's 147%. That means we're going to end the year, we project to end the year paying 47% more in claims than what we received in premiums. Our desired loss ratio is around the 90%, so that we can run the company with that extra 2% or 10%. So, I mean, to put it bluntly, we're losing money this year on this group, right? Because we're paying 45% more of what has come in for premiums. And that is, again, why we have to increase the premiums for next year, okay? Any questions on that? On how we calculated the rates or on the current plan? Because then my next thing is looking at options.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
We good? Okay. So you have 2 folded 11 by 17 sheets there. So let's look at the first one. So we had talked in the past about self-funded, and I looked at the self-funded option, and we're going to look at that here in a bit. The first one is fully insured options. Fully insured is the type of plan that you have right now, where you pay the premium, we pay for the claims. Okay? The only way to save on premiums on a fully insured plan is to decrease the benefits a little bit. So let's look at increasing deductibles, what can happen. So today, you guys have 3 options of plans that begin at a $500, at $1,000, and then $1,500 deductible health plan. Great plans. You have the majority of the enrollment on that option A, the $500 deductible plan. Nowadays, if I had to, I do not have the stats really, but on my appreciation, probably we do not have more than 10-15% of businesses, of groups that have a $500 deductible health plan, okay? The average out there is $1,500 to $2,000 deductible plan. So a $500 deductible plan, it's a great plan, but it also costs more, right? So I looked at options of increasing those deductibles. So let's look at offering, you know, a triple option as well, but with a little bit higher deductible. Let's not make it too much. I could have gone started at a $1,500 or a $2,000, but you know, you wanna kind of slowly increase if we have to. Okay. However, that's not offering us a whole lot more savings.
So that's the option on
this is
the columns on the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side. So on the right, so the first set of three there is the current premiums. That second, the one in the middle, is the same plans at the renewal premiums. The third set of plans on the far right, and I'm looking at, Dave, I'm looking at the other sheet. There's one that, oh no, you're on the right one. It looked different. Sorry, yeah. Okay, you were doing, sorry. I don't know why it looked a little big, because the other one is bigger.
Sometimes I'm not on the
It's, sorry. So yeah, I apologize. The last set of three is the option, okay, with higher deductible plans. So a $1,000, a $1,500, and a $2,500. So the $1,000, the $1,500 are the same plans you have today, but then we eliminated the $500, we added a $2,500. And I moved the enrollment the same way it is, people that are on the option A, so people that are on the $500 deductible, I moved them to the $1,000 and so on. But that only saves at about 3 percentage points of increase. So instead of going up to 18%, your premiums will be going up 15%, okay? 3 percentage points is something. If you ask me, the savings are not really. I mean, when you start looking at the actual premiums, basically, you know, somebody that would be paying on the $500 deductible $1,000.85 or $1,084.90 is going to pay, you know, $25 less. Going to the 1,000. So it's not. It doesn't look like a whole lot, but it is an option. We can always look at even higher deductibles if that is the route you want to go. We had a couple meetings with Tina and Sherry before coming to you and kind of looked at options. What do we want to look at and all that, and this is what we came up with, but we can certainly entertain more options if you would want to. Questions on that? Ouch. I hear you. So the next one, smaller, and this has got smaller print. I try to. That's why I did them in two, because first I had all together in one. It's like, no, this is not even I can read this. Yeah. My readers wouldn't even do that. So, these are self-funded options. And again, we've talked in the past, but let me review that concept a little bit. So self-funded plans. Self-funded plans are plans where you, the county, would be paying for the claims as they come in. We still administer that, so in the eyes of the employee, there's no difference. You know, to them it's a Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan. We administer, we process all the claims, all of that, but we are billing the county every week for all the claims as they come in. So self-funded, you're paying for the claims as you go. Weekly for those claims. Every claim we pay, it's all added up. Every week, every Friday, we're pulling from whatever bank account you tell us to pay for those claims, okay? So we make a projection for you and hear what those claims are going to be based on history. Again, Now, when we look at a self-funded plan, we project from a wider or a longer history period than we do on the full insured. On the full insured, I told you, we just look at 1 year prior, 12 months. For self-funded, we look at 35 months. So we look at the 2 full prior years plus the last 8 months of the current year. Okay? So we have a longer period of time, which allows us to have a better, estimation or projection of what those claims are. So if you have just 1 bad year, that's not going to affect you as bad as if we were looking just at that 1 bad year on your projection of claims, okay? So we project what those claims are going to be, and we also set some caps there, some limits. So you're not going to pay for claims indefinitely or an infinite amount of claims. So you are still capped, you're still protected up to, from a certain level up. So we put an individual protection, which is what we call an individual stop loss, which means that any individual on the plan that reaches a certain level of claims, wherever we set that stop loss or the cap, and once they reach that, you no longer pay for those claims, we pay for that. And for that cap, you pay a premium. So there are fixed costs in this plan as well. And then we put an aggregate cap or an aggregate stop loss as a whole for the entire group that is always going to be at 25% above that estimated or expected claims for the year. So we're saying your claims are going to be $1.4 million, about 25% of that is going to be about $1.6 million. If the group as a whole would get to $1.6 million, you don't pay for any more of those claims, we pay for those. So there's also an insurance, a premium for that stop loss as well. So on this self-funded plan, you're going to have fixed costs every month billed to you. It's going to be the administrative costs, and it's going to be that individual stop loss and that aggregate stop loss. So those 3 things are going to be fixed costs to you no matter what, whether claims happen or not. And then you're going to have the projected claims. And that is what makes it attractive in the sense that if those claims don't happen, you get to keep that money. On the fully insured, we make that a similar projection just based on those 12 months of history, and based on that, we charge you those premiums. If those claims don't happen next year, we win. Like in this past year, we paid more on claims. If next year is the opposite, we win. We get to keep that money from those premiums, that excess. If you're self-funded, you get to keep that money. So you also take on some risk, but you are capped at that, okay? I am a big proponent of, I really encourage groups about your size. We have about like 93 people or so on the health plan. We write self-funded plans from 25 people up. 25 is really too low, risky a number. From about 60, 70, I say from there up, you got the numbers to spread the risk and be able to take on that risk. However, it is something that you want to look at long term. So just like any kind of investments, this is you're taking on risk, you look at it long term because you're going to have great years and you're going to have bad years, like this past year, double the claims, 4 or $5 million in claims. But then you're going to have those good years that will allow you to build those reserves to, save that money for the rainy days of bad years, okay? So, any questions on how a self-funded plan works before I get into the numbers here?
You gave us some guidance on the size of the group and that we fall into one that would work. Of your other customers kind of in our range, what's the split between self-funded and the standard?
The majority on your range are self-funded. Yeah, from about 70 up, 70, 80 up is when they like to go self-funded. So groups over 100, I would say probably 80% of those are self-funded. a little less, maybe, you know, about your size, maybe 60, 70.
Okay.
Yes,
We're right at the tipping.
you are, yeah, you are. So, well, and that's why, you know, I always say I encourage the groups of your size to do that. Now, I had one group that did that, and the first year they had a horrible year. So it can happen, you know. So, you know, if I propose this and you guys say that's the way we're going to go, you have a horrible year, then you're not going to be wanting to see me next year. It's like, what did you do, you know? Well, no. So that's what I tell the group, and I told that group, it's like, sit tight, you know. Okay, this we talked about it. This could happen, and it can happen. You still have that cap, and that's why you want to fund to it. You want to plan on that maximum liability just in case, you know, at the cap level. But then if it's a great year, you save the money. But plan on that maximum liability for that first year. But it will get better after that. You're going to get past it, and it happens, you know. It's like, again, like our IRAs, you know. Don't even want to look at them now. Don't take any money out. Leave it as it is, and you know, it'll get better.
Thank you.
Okay?
Does that change the administration from our side?
It doesn't change anything from your side, other than the cash flow, if you will, the flow of monies.
Yeah.
So we continue to administer the plan, process claims, members, you know, employees get their same card. There's nothing that changes in the logistics of it, of the administration of the plan. You're going to have two bills. So you're going to have a monthly bill like you do today with the premiums. You're going to have that bill that's going to have the admin expenses and the stop loss premiums. That's monthly. And then you're going to have a weekly bill that's going to be drafted. It's an ACH. We set up whatever bank account you tell us, you know. You get a bill on email 2 days before the draft that tells you we're going to be drafting, you know, you get it on Wednesday and it says on Friday we're going to be taking, you know, $250,000 from that account for this week's claims.
It affects us from a budgetary.
Yes, there's more risk.
Well, yeah, you have to budget for, just like you said, you have to budget for the max liability.
Right. You have to fund, because you're going to have to fund for those claims as they start coming in week 1. Yes. But the funding of that is going to come from, well, just for illustration purpose, let's assume the employee pays 100% of the premium, okay, today. So today the employee pays 100% of it, so you deduct it through payroll, we send you the invoice every month, and you send us a check every month for those premiums. You continue doing the same. You deduct from payroll that premium from the employee, but a little piece of that premium is going to come to us on that monthly bill that we sent you for the admin expenses and the stop loss premiums, and the other chunk you put it in that account to fund for claims. So that's how you start funding that claim. So it's the same as it would be today, you know, with the premiums today. So part of those premiums, you take it and you put it on that fund to fund that. But you want to have an initial, you know, balance to start paying for that. Yes.
Day one, somebody gets sick, I mean, you gotta have some money in there.
Right. Right. Now, in practicality, when somebody gets sick, like really, you know, and long hospitalization, accident surgery, whatever, we're not going to see that claim until at least 2 weeks after that person is out of the hospital. You know, that would be if that, I mean, I was in the hospital early January, I still don't see my hospital bill because they filed the claim, but it's still not processed. I mean, it's a month after, a month and a half. So those big claims are not going to be that instant. You can have a lot of small ones. Okay? So that's kind of how it works. So on this self-funded options spreadsheet here, I have 4 self-funded options. Okay, that first set on the left, of plans are what you have today. And then the next one, which says renewal option 2, because the option 1 was that other full insured with higher deductibles. That first option of whether it says renewal option 2 ASO 75,000 K ISL. Okay, so this is the same plans that you have today, but under self-funded mode. Okay, self-funded with an individual stop loss, that is that individual cap of $75,000, meaning that anybody that reaches claims of $75,000, we don't bill you for that excess of claims anymore. We're only going to bill you up to $75,000, then we pay for those. Okay?
Not very high, is it?
Well, it kind of is. I mean, this is kind of on the high end. I did another one with 25.
Sick for a couple of weeks.
Well, that's true, right? But you're not going to. I mean, we can say that actually it's the top, it's the highest recommended for your size of group. Okay, so we can set it higher if you're even. We would not recommend it higher for your size of group. If we got 200 people in the plan, or 200 employees in the plan, then probably would say, yeah, let's look at maybe going to 100,000. I have groups with 3,500 employees on the plan that have it at $175,000. So, because you're taking the higher you set that, you're taking more risk. The county. So, so that's why I even looked at the 25,000, because I'm like, okay, well, let's start slow, to still give you protection on it. Okay. So the first option. So remember that the renewal of the full insured plan was an 18% increase. This, it shows here 15%, 15.73 would be the total increase of that first self-funded option. Are you with me? Okay. This is at what we call the expected level, okay? The projected claims, which means, 15% of an increase. I made 3 lines of notes right underneath that. One of them, so if you look at that 15.373%, that means $1.4 million total cost, okay? At the expected level. This is still not your maximum liability, okay? Of those $1.4 million, $389,000 are your fixed costs. This is what you're going to be paying us every month, no matter what. Admin fees and stop loss premiums, okay? Everything in so the difference, so less than $1.1 million are claims, okay? Those claims, if they happen, you pay for them. You're only going to pay for the claims that occur, okay? Now, that third line at the bottom says max liability. That is your maximum liability, because that takes into account that additional 25% that takes you up to your aggregate cap or aggregate stop loss. So, worst case scenario, you would end up spending $1.6 million with the self-funded plan.
Plus the fixed cost.
No, that includes the fixed costs.
Okay, so
Yes.
the fixed cost is
Yeah.
in the 1.6.
It is in the 1.6 and it is in the 1.4.
Okay.
Okay? So of that 1.4 and of that 1.6, 389,000 are fixed. So total cost that you could get in the year, worst case scenario, would be 1.6 million. Today, you're spending 1.2. With the renewal, we were looking at 1.4. So technically, if this first year was the worst for you, you would be spending $200,000 more than you would renewing this full insured plan. Okay? Questions? Thoughts, opinions on this plan?
What is, most of our deductibles for employees right now is
It's the 500.
500.
That's where you have the highest enrollment.
So if we move somebody up to 5,000,
That's a huge jump.
that's a huge jump, and I know myself.
We're not talking about
We're
moving
talking about,
anybody,
I know.
though.
yeah, no.
But there's a plan here
Where
for it.
you,
No,
No.
so what you're looking at is single and family. So right now, it's 500 for single, 1,000 for family, and then 1,000, 1,500, and then 1,500, 3,000. What we're talking about is if you change to a different deductibles, it'd be 1,000 would be your lowest one for a single, which is a 2,000 for a family.
Oh, okay.
1,500 is 3,000, and then 2,500 for a single would be 5,000 for a family. So we're not looking at any individual,
there wouldn't be any, any 5,000.
it would just be for a family.
Right. Yeah, so the deductibles on this first option, the first numbers that we looked at here, is the same plans, the 500, 1,000, and the $1,500 deductible. Then, the second block of plans there, the one that says on the top, renewal option 3, ASO 75,000 ISL. That is self-funded, but with a higher deductible. So instead of, we drop the $500 deductible and we add a $2,500 deductible. So we have a $1,000, a $1,500, and a $2,500 individual deductible, okay? With that, you save a little bit of money in comparison to the prior one. So it's not a whole lot. Again, just kind of like we saw on the full insured side. So you're not saving a lot of money by decreasing the benefits that little, okay? Questions? Okay, the other two options to the right are the same, the current plans, and then the higher deductible plans, but with that lower individual stop loss or lower individual cap. Instead of 75,000, we cap those claims at 25,000. Okay? With that, really the picture doesn't change a whole lot overall in your total. However, if you look at the fixed cost, because we are lowering significantly that individual cap, we're going to charge you a higher individual stop loss premiums. So your fixed costs are going from $399,000 to $670,000. So when you're really, your expected level of claims still at about 1.4, I mean, it's just change in the percentage you can save, you know, from 1.405 to 1. So $50,000, more or less $50,000 a change in the big scheme of things is not a whole lot. So 1 percentage point, you know, not a whole lot. It's not saving you money on there, and your fixed costs are higher. So if your claims don't happen, you're still gonna be paying, you know, $200,000, almost $300,000 more in fixed costs. If you ask me, and I don't know if you want to ask me.
We'll ask.
Again, you know, I said it before, I'm a big proponent of self-funded, and we had looked at it in the past. I think this, I mean, if you are, you said, Tina, you, was it like a 25% that you budgeted, I think? So, you know, if you budgeted that, you already have in the budget funds to fund probably for, I mean, what does that mean, the 25 to 1.2, so about 300.
So when we actually calculated, we did the calculations based on 25%, but I don't think that.
Right, so that's about $300,000, I would say.
I don't know if that number is what actually got into the budget. We have 1.5 in the budget for health insurance, but it also includes our life insurance, which is just a little piece of it. So.
Okay, but, so you had about 1.5 budgeted for it, you know, give or take with the life part of it, okay? this, your maximum liability on this, you know, to fund it to the max is 1.6. So that means, okay. Can you pull 100,000 if you had to? If the claims, you know, get to that point, can you pull another $100,000 from somewhere to fund that?
Yeah, that's where I would say.
You're taking a risk.
Right.
Because you're taking, right. So, I mean, if you take the risk, it means your worst case scenario, you're going to need another $100,000 more. Worst case scenario. Now, it can happen. Now, what's the likelihood of that? It's just, you know, it's.
Well, you got us projected at 1.4.
Just from January to January.
This is on the plan year. Would be from May 1st through April 30th. Right.
So it spans 2 budget years, basically, like half.
That's
We need to walk around and check everybody's health.
Now,
Start a health program.
yeah. Now, the aggregate stop loss, one thing I didn't mention, which is helpful for cash flow purpose, the aggregate stop loss is applicable monthly, okay? So we have your total claims at maximum liability of $1.6 million. So that means every month your cap is gonna be at 1/12 of that amount, okay? So we're not gonna wait till the end of the year, until you reach $1.6 million to start paying for your claims. So on May, which is the first month of the year, 1/12 of the 1.6, so that's gonna be, you know, a little over $100,000. That's gonna be your cap for that 1 month. And then twice of that is gonna be for month 2, 3 times is gonna be for month 3, okay? So you do not have to be paying, so if you get a $500,000 claims on first month, you're not gonna pay for it. You're only gonna pay up to that 1/12 of this $1.6 million on the first month. So that's gonna continue to reconcile every month at a cumulative level.
So you keep
Are you with me?
chipping away at it. You keep chipping away at it.
Right.
Every-
Right, so every month it will, exactly. So you're gonna, roughly, it's gonna be 1/12 every month that cap goes up. So you don't have to come up with those $500,000 on month 1.
So if you had 1.6, whatever that would be, you would pay that over 12 months.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
I was gonna say 1.7 almost here.
Yeah, so we're talking about $130,000 a month. That would be your cap. So that would be the most you're gonna pay in month 1. Then for the first 2 months is gonna be $260 and so on.
Interest rate is 6%. Get that back in.
Today. Okay. Is it time to look at the discussion-wise, is it time to break it out into the self-funded, whether we want to look at that option? Okay, Tina and Cherry, would you have any input you'd like to give us?
The only input I have really is, in the past, I have not really wanted to go there if we didn't have to, because we already had more than we could handle work and trying to learn something new and figure out this new thing. I think that because we're splitting off now with HR going with the administrative office, I think it is a time that we could look at it, and it would be more manageable than maybe it would have been in the past. And the idea of coming off of a very bad year claim-wise means that we might have the opportunity to save money this coming year, which we would be paying out in premiums if we did. You know, a lot of times you think about, oh, well, the premium is gonna be, you know, you look at your total exposure and it looks really bad, you know. But coming off of a high year and in the cycle that we've had, usually we have a really high year, then we have 2 or 3 better years. So this might be a time where it would make sense, even though it looks expensive.
You're also looking at.
We might have the opportunity to actually pay less in claims and build some reserves
looking
if
at
we
your-
do it now.
Looking at your odds, too. I mean, you're
I mean, not that-
50% is coming from 4 people, and 3 people are not there.
What do you do
Odds-
with 3
odds
years
are
or
we
quit?
could have a better year.
Sorry?
That
What do you
doesn't
do
mean
with
we
three
Right,
will.
there's
It
no
doesn't
guarantee.
guarantee.
It's taking on more risk, and that's kind of
I
scary.
mean, if we did it for 3 years and we didn't like it, could we quit?
You can, if you do it
It's not
for
like
a certain.
grandfather plan where we can't get back.
Right, no, yeah, you can go back to full insured whenever you want. I would not recommend it,
Well, I understand
because
that.
you wanna,
Because you've got something built.
exactly. Unless, if you got 5 years in a row, bad years, I mean, what are the chances of that happening? Really low,
Just
right?
with the employees, don't we?
But
I mean, it's,
Could happen.
but it can. I mean, I'm not saying, well, yeah, I mean, you could have, tornadoes coming through Marion every single year. It can happen, right? What are the chances that that's gonna happen and tear the whole town down? That's kind of like, it's a probability issue. And I have yet to see the group that has 3 or 5 or even 3 years in a row of bad years. It's always that 1 year. And that 1 year is gonna carry to your projections and your rates for a couple of years, because we take, 35 months of history to look at that, to project. But we give it different weights, as years go by.
Can you take our projected over cost this year that we've had, and let's say, figure that out for 3 years. What's that, if it was run bad, just like the numbers we've had this year? Our lows was 1.6, is that what we lost? Or over, or?
Our
Yeah,
claims
it was-
were like 1.4.
It was 1.4 million. Well,
What I'm getting at though is if we went over 3 years in a row, what would we be paying at the 3rd year is what I'd like to see. I'm just asking, just so if Dave and I wanna have a heart attack, so.
On full insured,
So you don't wanna?
I'm not on your insurance.
Okay.
on the full insured plan that you have today, you're saying?
No,
Or a
if we
self-funded?
went self-funded and we had the same overages that we have this year, and then run it for 2 more years, or after we know what we're gonna pay on.
Right.
From here.
So
With
say,
the-
we hit
yeah.
that 1.6, and if we
So-
go to 1.7, you guys cover our overs.
So that's,
And what does it do for our next year?
so what's gonna do to it? Great question. What that's gonna do is, it's gonna, because your projection of claims is always gonna be a projection. That can happen or not. But if you have that big overage this first year, and then the following year, you're gonna see that we're gonna hit you on those stop loss premiums. So, because if we paid that, so those fixed costs. Because if you have, 40 people that went over the $75,000 stop loss, we're gonna have to recover that somehow, part of it. So you're gonna see it on your, it's no different than the full insured here. We got, twice the claim, so we're increasing your premiums 18%. So it's gonna be the same thing. If we pay overage, too much of it, it's gonna translate into higher stop loss premiums.
Okay. Like Tina said, we've always tried going to 15 to 20% on a budget for every year, just so in case this happens. But we went to what'd you say we had, 1.5 this year? So if you went another 20%, would that be about a 1.7 in your next year's, if you go? And then I'm just seeing.
Yeah. Well, from what I've seen, and I'm gonna share what I've seen, okay? By no means it means I got to give you the disclaimer, just like a financial, advisor will give you the disclaimer. This is just based on what I've seen. I can't guarantee the future. Groups, self-funded, I have never seen an increase on the total cost projection, with fixed cost plus claim, plus projected claims, more than 25%. That's like on the high end, like really the high end. Now, your stop loss premiums, I've seen those have an increase of 40, 45, 50%. But
those fixed costs are just a smaller part of your total expense. So that's why, you know, it kind of dilutes on the total increase of the total liability or your total maximum cost for the year. But yes, so you could see me come back one year if you have, you know, a couple of years in a row with bad claims. You could see me come back a year with a 40%, you know, higher stop loss premiums. That could happen.
I've always liked this. Every year I hear it, but I just haven't been off on it yet.
It's and I get it. It's, I mean, you
It's a big
guys are tasked with, you know, looking after taxpayers' money, and we want to be, you know, I mean, what is sure, what we know, or the sure it's the safest, you know, what is safe. We know this is going to cost. It's safer. It's hard to think of taking the risk, but I got, you know, several, not only me, but also in Blue Cross and Blue Shield counties that are self-funded, cities, school districts, because they're the size that you want. So it doesn't matter if they're public or private organizations. You got the size, you got the numbers, you're going to do well.
But also, I'm not making a recommendation.
Well, I'm going to commit. I'm making a recommendation. Move to self-funded plan. You can crucify me next year if you want. Yeah.
Well, I think the question for the commission is, number one, change. I mean, it's a change, a process. There's more upfront money, maybe a little more risk. And what we've been doing, we know what we have. I think we're pretty comfortable with what we currently have. It comes to a question, is the commission comfortable in making the change?
I mean, if we made a change like this, we really ought to step up our health and wellness program. We talk.
Why don't you do that?
Talk safety, and I don't think we have a safety program countywide, do we?
No.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have it.
And we absolutely need to get,
And I have some information on some incentives for those kind of programs that are offered through our liability carrier and our work. But I haven't, there's a whole program you can go through to get some incentives, but I haven't had a chance to really dive into it yet.
And we have a whole department, a wellness department that, you know, most of them are nurses, that, you know, that's their job, 40 hours a week, and putting out wellness resources for members, and we can help you get a wellness program started, like we as employees of Blue Cross and Blue Shield, for instance, and there's like about 1,600 employees, we get biometrics done every year, paid for by our employer. So, you know, blood work done, they look at our sugars, our cholesterol, and all of that. And every year, there's something that is caught in there. Somebody with a high cholesterol, and somebody has never gone to the doctor. There's a lot of us that do that, you know, that don't like to go to the doctor, never had their cholesterol checked, and they came back, you know, back with cholesterol through the roof. And everybody, you know, as an employer, you cannot mandate employees to do that, but you can motivate them with some incentive. So like we get,
I like how he looked around for a second. Incentive.
I mean, we'll pay like those, the Affordable Care Act preventive services, and some of that is through there. But for that, the employee would have to go to the doctor files a claim, and we wouldn't pay if you go self-funded.
Romance program that.
Right. So, I mean, if you go self-funded, it's you paying those claims, but a thing like a biometric screening, for instance, you say, we're going to have the health county, you know, come in-house, you know, this day, this week, or you can do it a few days, and everybody come in and get your blood drawn, you know, first thing in the morning, fasting labs, and no cost to the employee. And we get a little incentive, you know, because we have a wellness program, so So that everybody, does that. So give them, or raffle, some gift cards or whatever, or I don't know, or you can say, and like our plan, they just changed it, but it used to be, if you didn't do that, you would pay $150 a month surcharge on your or my insurance premium. Yeah. Yeah.
Give me a temperature from the commission. How much interest is there in the self-funded? Okay, so Commissioner Garing's interested, and Commissioner Crowfoot.
I've been looking at it for years, it's just,
Well, the administrator told us if we looked at it, this might be an appropriate year to do it, being we're on the high end of claims.
Right.
And possibly with the way the staffing is set up now, would be a little more conducive to that.
I think so. I mean, not that we want change, right? But that there are other options that you haven't talked about too, but I mean, like you could look at other companies, which we've done before, and usually the other companies are gonna wanna, they will want to give you a lower price to get you to switch, and then your claims come back in.
All I know is we did that several years ago before you guys were on.
I'm sure 1 year.
Nobody wants to give up their Blue Cross and Blue Shield, I guarantee you.
We also had Claudio bring a lot of other options that he didn't even share with you.
Right.
But they weren't really fiscally
Right.
appropriate. Like we did some high deductible health plans, because some employees have asked about that. I want a higher deductible and like do a flex, like a health savings account. I mean, we looked at all of that.
Right.
And
you can do that. You can even with this and then just add a high deductible plan. But, let's say if you decide to move to a self-funded plan now, and you may want to look at how if you're gonna make any changes on contribution, to the employee's premium or whatnot, you can, and to kind of try to save on that part a little, maybe not, whatever.
So
We can maybe look at next year, okay, as a next step, at the high deductible health plan for those that want that and save some money, again on premiums, a high deductible.
yeah, I mean, I think there are really three decisions that we need. One is whether you're gonna shop or not, look at other companies. The second one is if you are staying with Blue Cross, are you gonna look at changing deductibles for employees at this point? And then the last decision we really need is whether you wanna do fully insured or self-funded. And then once we get that, then we'll have to come back with contribution rates and all of that. How much is the county gonna pay? How much do the employees pay? Because we don't have that ready to go today. So,
Just to finish up on the self-funded, Commissioner Dalkey, did you have a feeling or
I'm waiting for the wisest one. And I haven't
Okay.
heard.
That's probably the wisest position.
Commissioner Mueller.
I'm torn.
Okay. Yeah, we all.
I'm torn because I'm comfortable with what we have. Yes, it's a big increase, but at the same time, there's security in it. At the same time, self-funded offers an opportunity. As Tina said, with just coming off of a high year, it does make sense that next year will be lower, and perhaps we'd have some savings that actually stay in our pocket instead of going to the company. No offense.
Yeah.
But understood.
If you're a gambler, you'll roll the dice.
Yes, and so I see both. I see both sides, but I also see the opportunity for this year. I guess that's kind of I don't have a hard, fast,
Sure.
absolutely thumbs up or thumbs down. But it's an opportunity, and if this is the year to do it, then this is probably the year to do it.
Yeah. A couple of things to mention, because obviously, again, I know you gotta watch your people's dollars, and if you need to go out and shop, we can't prevent you, and we're not gonna, and I encourage you, if you want to do that, and go through the process. It may be tedious, more for Tina, but And I think I've mentioned this before, Blue Cross and Blue Shield is of Kansas, and all Blue Cross and Blue Shield plans in the country, you know, we're all separate companies, but we're all mutual companies. Just like Farm Bureau, you know, and Property and Casualty, you know, we're not for profit. So with that, we are heavily regulated. There's a law that states that of all that comes in for premiums, we can only keep no more than 10% for your size of group to run the company. Or I'm sorry, 15%, and it's 20% for smaller groups. So only up to 15% is what we can keep to run the company. The other 85% needs to go back out to pay for claims and healthcare expenses. So we don't have a bottom line of, you know, net profit that we want for the year. So right now, we're running the company with about 10% of those premiums that come in, okay? So that's an important point. We have, and that is something that I hear from groups a lot, that, oh, Blue Cross has a lot of money in the bank, sitting in the bank, you know, and I said, well, we do, because just like banks, we gotta have a reserve. That means we gotta have that money. It's say tomorrow, Marion County and every other group decides they're not going to pay for their premiums next month, we have at least 6 months of claims in reserves. That means if nobody pays their premiums for 6 months, we can at least continue to pay for those claims. That's why we have that reserve, because
General fund.
Sounds familiar.
yeah.
He just told you 6 months.
That's what we got, yeah. 6 months of reserves is what we're a little under now, but that's our goal.
Right.
Our goal is 6 months of reserves. I think we're at about 5.3 or something like that today, but that's our goal, okay? And then there's the network, and then there's customer service. So when we see that, you know, other carriers are great network-wise on more populated areas. So people that doctor in Wichita, in Topeka, Kansas City is great. Once you start, you know, getting away from those metropolitan areas, it gets a little harder to find doctors under the network, and then when you have to go to specialists, it gets even harder. And then you have the customer service in the sense of claims, how they're paid and covered. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas, we have what is called a medical policy. Medical policy is basically a handbook of how we pay for claims. So every procedure is listed on there, and that is what we have covered and will pay it. So we do not require pre-authorizations on everything, okay? People are always encouraged to send in it's really not a pre-authorization, it's a pre-evaluation to see how much they're going to end up paying. If you have a scheduled procedure or something, doctors will do that. The provider will do that, will submit it ahead of time, but we do not require that. We've seen that because I have groups like you that have left us, you know, and they go to another carrier, I'm not going to mention them, and that is the first pain that they have, pre-approvals for things. Just about everything from an X-ray to an MRI to this, and nope, you gotta have pre-approval for that before you have it done. And then pre-approval takes forever, and it goes, you know, a month and a half before you can get that scheduled. So those are things that I've seen, and so we do have, you know, a good thing going here. I'm a firm, not because I work for Blue Cross, but I believe in what we do, so.
Okay. I'm going to bring it back to Tina's priority list of the 3 questions we need to address. One was self-insurance, the other's deductible, and the first one would be whether we're going to get other.
Shop around.
Okay, I'm going to get a temperature.
Been through that before.
Okay. Okay, so I'm rating a strong consensus that we stick with Blue Cross Blue Shield. You've laid out options. Now let's examine in further detail what those options are. So we've resolved one issue.
Don't want to raise the deductible.
Okay, that's the next question on there. I'm in the same boat. I like the plans that are offered now. You've got 3 levels of deductibles. Let's hear the other side. Are there commissioners that would argue for higher deductible plans?
Well, that's what I was looking here. what's the rate on
Yeah.
any of those, you know, and so.
I think that anything that we would have to look at as far as employee contribution would weigh into that.
Yes.
So they're kind of intertwined.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you keep the deductible low.
We want to keep the employees, that's why this year we give pay raises, we can't give it to them and take it back.
And the difference for me for the deductibles is, I mean, it makes more sense to go with a lower deductible. I don't see a significant savings for going to high deductible unless we looked at a much higher level deductible.
Exactly. I agree. I agree.
So, am I reading a consensus to keep the three options we currently have? Okay.
And then I would be in favor of staff review on self.
Okay. So, is that something, we don't make a decision today, but we have,
We're gonna either stick with our original plan, or they're gonna review and make sure we're not overlooking something on the self-funding.
We've got the month of March to play with this.
Well, no,
I had a
we
feeling.
need to
that-
have a decision within the next couple of weeks. Because we still have a lot of work to do. Just for a regular renewal, we would have to.
If it winds up being a savings, you just don't justify your whole salary.
So I have details on the self-funded options here. Is that something you?
Well, I'm trying to narrow down the discussion at least. So we've taken some of the questions off the table. So what I'm hearing is there's interest in the self-funded plan at the same level that the same options we're providing at this point.
Whether or not we go self-funded or we go.
I call it
the one-
standard.
Yeah.
Full insurance, yeah. So is there information that we can gain by waiting if we go off the table? I mean, does it warrant another week to?
I'm fine if you want to wait a week. What I would do would probably be I don't know that we can afford to do a $25,000 stop loss, individual stop loss.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
If you're gonna go to the
No.
self-funded, I think you
Yes.
have to look at, you're
75.
gonna have to look at that 75,000
Right.
stop loss. In my
Yeah.
opinion.
It's gonna take a long
Where
to
does
get
that
there.
money come from?
Well, and so then, well, that just means that our fixed costs would be lower, so the premiums that we're gonna pay.
Yeah, but we have to have money in there to start with.
Right,
We do.
and so what I was going to say is that what I would do would be look at the current fund balance for the employee benefits fund, look at what our projected amounts that, when money will be coming in,
Yes.
and see if we can even make that work.
Okay, so you can bring us more information that
As
helps.
far as our specific budget.
Right. I think another one that could be taken off the table is the $25,000 cap. I don't see that working at all. I mean, if
I
your
think that
fixed
it's-
costs go through the roof.
I mean, it's less risky.
It is, but at what cost?
It is, but it doesn't offer you significant savings for that lower risk.
I mean, it's like the high deductible.
It makes it not worth even
The only,
doing, in my
the
opinion.
only thing I personally was looking at was either the fully insured current or the self-funded option 2.
Yes, at the 75,000 cap.
Right.
It's at the top of the column.
Option 2.
Option 2.
It is option 2.
Unless I'm missing something, because they also got a current on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's just a comparable
it's just-
to this, right?
Yeah, that option 2 is the correct, it's the current plans, self-funded at the $75,000 individual stop
And
loss.
then what's the flex access, because that's added on to this one.
Yeah, so that's just that's added in all the new plans, so you're gonna see that in all. So the only one that doesn't have it are the current plan, the current years.
Okay.
Flex Access is a program that we've added to all plans on the prescription side, prescription drug side. What it is it allows us to utilize, which would be perfect for you also now, as assuming you're going to go the self-funded side, because you get to keep those amounts, you're gonna be paying less for those claims for those prescription drugs. Those prescription drug manufacturers, for those high dollar drugs, they put out discount coupons for people that initially they were intended for like people that couldn't afford them or were not insured, and in years past, it would be, the doctor's office would have a stack of paper coupons, and you go to the doctor, you have this prescription, they give you that one and take it to the pharmacy. Today, all of that is electronic, so it's all in the network. But it works the same way. So these pharmaceutical companies put out so many dollars out there for people to use for those high dollar prescription drugs. The Flex Access program allows us to access those funds that are available on there. There's a list of about 400 prescription drugs that qualified under that program. So we can take advantage and taking those dollars that are typically the way it works today is because this is for prescription drugs that are ongoing, like Humira or some diabetes prescriptions or whatnot. They would put an amount for the year for the individual to use. So let's say, to make it easy, they got $12,000 in a discount card, available for them for the year. So every month that they go and fill that prescription is going to take $1,000 off of the price of that prescription. Okay, so that means $1,000 less on the claim paid to the pharmacy for that prescription. And we've added that in all of our full insured plans. Self-funded, they have the option if you don't want it, add it, but there's no reason not to want to add it, because otherwise, if you don't add it, we will not be utilizing those.
Give more money to the drug company.
Is that the same as that Good RX where you just take the card and give it to them?
It is not, because that Good RX applies to a lot of prescriptions. This Flex Access is for those high dollars prescription drugs. Yeah, specific prescriptions. Now, Good RX is already playing into the claims too, because we added that last year. And it just happens behind the scenes. When somebody goes to the pharmacy to fill a prescription, all those discount cards that are available are already connected, are in the network, they're available out there. So when the pharmacist runs your prescription through the network, it looks at whatever discount card that's available on there, and it's going to pull the best one, and it's going to apply that discount to the price of that prescription right away. It's all done behind the scenes, and that decreases the cost that the member is going to pay out of pocket as well as a copay. So.
We at least narrowed the scope a little bit for you. What else did you have for us today?
Okay, so this is really all in the plans, because we got a lot of other programs and things that it really is not the time to probably talk about, because I could be talking all through evening here about things we're doing. So you'll see on that right side stack there more. So I had the actual rates options for every one of the options on there. So the one that says option 2 in red in the top right corner is the one that you were kind of inclined towards, that self-funded at current plans at $75,000. So what we do is we take the projection of claims. You're going to see there on the line 2A is the expected claims, $1 million, and then we have the attachment point, $1.2 million. That is the maximum liability on claims, so it's that 25% on top of the expected claims. And then we have on that line 3A the bill charges. These are the fixed costs, $389,000. So all of that added up, it gives you at an expected level $1.4 million, or your maximum liability, the maximum that you would have to spend in the year, $1.6 million. And that is breaking out into premiums. So if you look at there, those lines 4 and 5 are the breakdown of that 1.4 or that $1.6 million into premiums, for employee-owned or single and for family. So this is to help you set that funding. to where are you gonna set your premiums at? And initially, I always tell, self-funded, you set them at the maximum. You wanna start at the max, okay? And that doesn't mean that you're gonna be charging, $1,200 the employee for the single premium, because you're contributing part of it, but keep that as your reference of premium to start funding this. And then it's got all the 3 different plans on here, and then just a breakdown of the administrative expenses, and then the stop-loss premiums on the last page there is the individual, and then the aggregate stop-loss premiums on the very last page of that. And these are what I was saying earlier, what you were asking, if you have several bad years in a row, that's where you're gonna see those increases reflected on those premiums. Your admin expenses are fixed for 3 years, so we're not increasing them for 3 years. That admin expense is that was $57, per employee or per contract per month. But then those stop-loss premiums can change next year. Anything else I can respond to questions?
Anything else?
Narrowed it down for me. I just want to make sure we don't jump off a cliff.
Right.
Make sure.
Absolutely.
Or take the best educated guess at surviving the fall.
Right. Yeah, so when you're looking at the budget, the funds that you have, remember that we have the $1.6 million maximum liability, so that means for month 1, you gotta have about $130,000. And then, so it's gonna be about $130,000 every month cumulative, what you're gonna have to pay, because we apply that stop loss on a monthly basis, 1/12 of it.
Right.
We good on that? Hearing that?
What does this mean, agreement to return 80% of the 2021
Oh,
contract?
yes, thank you for bringing that up. Awesome, yes. I'm glad somebody is reading all that. Yes, thank you. So in your spreadsheet, I added that line here. So that's another nice thing about the self-funded plans. On prescription drugs, the prescription drug plans are managed by Prime Therapeutics. I don't know if it rings a bell with any of you, and every carrier has what is called the PBM, Pharmacy Benefit Manager. So it's a separate company. Ours is Prime, and Prime, Blue Cross and Blue Shield has ownership in Prime. So, but it's a separate company where they process the prescription drug claims, okay? And they have because that's all they do. So they have a good negotiating power with the pharmaceutical companies on prescription drug prices. So with that, they negotiate rebates every year with them for all prescription drugs. On the fully insured plan that you have today, we get to keep those rebates. We're just charging you the premiums. On a self-funded plan, you get those rebates back, and that's what that is. Now, you get 80%, we keep 20% of those rebates for administration and all that, going back and forth. So 80% of all the prescription drug rebates, you get them back. And you're gonna see those back, assuming you go to the self-funded plan, you're gonna see those back as a check. In a check, every quarter. You're gonna get a check every quarter for those drugs. So the estimated was about, well, I added it up, because if I remember right, it was like $40 per contract per month, so it adds up to about $44,000 on estimated rebates for a year. So you would get about, $45,000 back, on those rebates.
Into
Could be more.
incentive program.
Yeah, so you do get that money back. Thank you for bringing that up.
Other things for us to consider.
This is all I had for you.
That was it?
Thank you.
It turned out all right, being so painful.
All right, well, good, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yes. So if any questions come up, my card should be on each one of those folders, I think.
It's in there.
So feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. If any of you have any questions as you think through this a little more. And of course, I'll be in touch with Sherry and Tina on that and see how we move forward.
Well, Claudio, I appreciate all the information and the calculations and the patience with our questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like we may be heading down another path, a slightly different path, but hopefully a better path.
I think so. I think it is for you guys.
Responsible with the taxpayer money and recouping some costs and trying to save some on the back end.
And still providing a quality product.
Right. Yeah, you guys have a great benefit for your employees. It's great, and I'm sure they appreciate it. And if you can keep that, that's great. So I think this is the way to go.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay?
I'm sure Tina and Cherry will have lots of questions for you.
All right. Well, good to see you all again, and don't hesitate to reach out if any other questions come up.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks. All right.
Sneaking off to the restroom.
No, Brad. Okay. No, Brad, but we'll have an executive.
We can share.
Let's take a 5-minute break.
I have a feeling.
We'll be back in 5 minutes, 3:20. That way everybody's got a chance to use the restroom, stand up.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
3:21, actually, I guess.
I'm gonna leave by 4:45.
Okay, we should be done.
It's a long process.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
Right.
We're on? All right, we're back from our break after a stimulating discussion about health insurance. And of course, it's always very important, very interesting. At the beginning of the meeting, when we did the agenda approval, we did add an executive session for EMS director position discussion. 15 minutes. Let's go with 15 minutes. I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss applicants for the EMS director position pursuant to KSA 75-4319B, Item 1, personnel matters, non-elected personnel performance, with the commission and Tina for 15 minutes from 3:25 to 3:40.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gehring. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. We will be back at 3:40.
Okay. We are on.
Sorry.
Camera's just looking at you.
Somebody else needs to talk. All right, we are out of executive session. No decisions made. We would like to go back into another executive session. I'm going to say 20 minutes on this one. I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss with the candidate for the EMS director position pursuant to KSA 75-4319B, Item 1, personnel matters, non-elected personnel performance, with the commission, the candidate, and Tina for 20 minutes, 3:45 to 4:05. Second by Commissioner Gehring. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. We'll be back at 4:05.
Alrighty.
Zooming in on Randy this time.
I'm moving. That left me.
We are out of executive session. No decisions made. Any commission comments? If not, I move to adjourn.
Is
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 4-0. Thank you all very much. We will see you Monday, the 26th at 12:30.